We're working around the clock to bring order. That's why I spent the big portion of the day working to assemble additional resources so we could bring calm to the city.
In Baltimore, they're picking up the pieces of shattered businesses and lives. From the President of the United States to the mother hoping her child doesn't end up shot in the crossfire, they're begging for pause. Police are feeling more like targets, and there are plenty of people who seemingly would like nothing better than to draw a target on their backs and take aim. This is about more than simply race, more than just about the need for a better economy, and certainly about more than a few bad cops. So let's get to work. Always a pleasure to welcome back the retired LAPD sergeant who has been at ground zero in such events, much of which is covered in her book, Black and Blue, The Creation of a Manifesto, Cheryl Dorsey. And let's also welcome in the vice chair of the National Black Police Association and president of the Guardian Civic League, Rochelle Bilal. Ladies, I thank you both for joining us today.
Hi, Ed. Good afternoon. Thank you for having us.
Rochelle, let me begin with you because first time on the show and I wanted to get your immediate take here. The mayor started things off in many eyes by basically stating that we let the rioters have their space. She called it a freedom of speech, yet there's a lot of cops that I've talked to that say that was a bad thing to do and it basically helped to light the fires. What do you think?
Let's say from the ground, people that I've talked to in Baltimore in reference to letting those young people out of school early and then taking away their transportation, that was against emergency management 101. Yes, that was a bad move.
But not only that, I understand what you're saying here. That's a bad move indeed. But let's also get down to the fact that just because their transportation was taken out for the day did not mean that they had to take to rocks, to rioting, to looting, to burning stores. I mean, that went over the edge. You will agree with that.
Well, you take a mixture of young people mad and an agitator that was basically brought in there to cause a situation. Yes, that was a bad move, and it only inflamed the situation. There's 2 points there you got to look at. You close down, you put out young people, and yet there's an element already there that has been traveling around the country to agitate and to cause problems. You put them both together, and that's what you got.
All right, Sergeant Dorsey, let me come to you on this then, because we're opening up something new here that a lot of people haven't talked about. Yes, there were young people there, but there were adults who were also in the streets. This was not, and I heard somebody say this on one of the other networks where they said, well, it was just a bunch of kids. Please stop. This is ridiculous. Kids don't do the kind of damage that we saw. This wasn't just a bunch of loose teenagers here. These were people looking to riot and burn, and people still go back to the mayor saying, you made the wrong decision. You should have let the cops move in and take control.
Well, I hate to second guess any authority figure, whether it's the mayor or the police commissioner, but clearly I think something more aggressive should have been done early on, because I believe those officers were doing exactly what they were told to do. They stood down, and then things got out of hand. And then once it was out of hand, you couldn't get that horse back in the barn. And so, these young people and those others that were part of that mix were very frustrated, and they were acting out in a way that I promise you next week, when they can't go to CVS and get that prescription because they've cleared the aisles and they've removed necessary items, they're going to be thinking twice about, was that really a smart move?
Cheryl, do we need to, though, back up a little bit, because you used the phrase acting out. And I have to tell you that America's watching what's going on here, and they're saying this is not acting out. These were people looking to loot, looking to destroy. We had 2 cops, actually, who were injured, one who was unresponsive at one point. This was violent, Sergeant. This wasn't just a couple of kids or a couple of hundred kids being unhappy.
Well, I believe that it was a small minority, and I also saw several people that were trying to do the right thing. But be clear, what they did yesterday had nothing to do with Freddie Gray. It had nothing to do with respecting his family. They didn't honor that young man's death. And really, it had nothing to do with what we really need to get to the bottom of, which is, why did the police officers stop him? Why did they pursue him? Being a black man in public in a high crime area is not suspicious. And that's what we need to find out. And they did little to help us get to those answers.
Now, I do agree that there needs to be answers. You are exactly right. And we've talked about this. And I do believe, and I think many people would back us up, that the cops are trying to do it right the first time. They get this investigation wrong and something comes out the first time, they're going to have an even greater amount of problems here. But let me move on to Rochelle, and let me ask you on this. There are some cops that we've spoken to who basically say, and this is in response to what the mayor did, look, if you don't let us police this, then we won't do anything. We will let the city burn. They're basically saying that you did not let us do our job. Do you disagree or agree with that, Rochelle?
I disagree with any police officer not wanting to do their job. Totally. 100%. I don't care whether you like what the mayor did or whether you like what the chief police did. You are there and hired to protect and serve the city, and you saying you're not going to do your job, I'm against
right.
that.
No, wait a minute. But I think there's a difference here, Rochelle. And what they're saying is we're out there on the front lines. There are people looting. There are people crashing into cars. There are people beating citizens up. We need to be able to do our job, go in there and break this up. What the cops are saying is the mayor and the government didn't let them do the job. You basically shackled us, so that leaves us completely impotent.
And at that point, that's what it left them. And that's on the mayor and that's on the chief of police. It should have let them follow the emergency management plan that everybody gets. Go and stop the threat immediately. Don't let it stand. Don't let it burn. Don't let people loot and cause all kinds of problems in your city. Don't let them burn down your city and you standing there. That's against the rules.
So let's just say this then, that what you're telling us right now is according to what you know, procedures you know, emergency management, the mayor goofed. The mayor screwed up.
I don't want to say the mayor screwed up because I don't know who was in charge in planning the actual dealing with the confrontation. I don't know. But I'm just saying whoever did it, the number one rule was not to let them do that in that city.
Right. You would say then move in, let the cops do their job. Sergeant Dorsey, do you agree with that, at least, that at this point what we're looking at here, and I know we're doing a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking here, as the mayor would like to say, but it is worth talking about. They should have let the cops do their job. End of story.
Well, there's been an inference from the governor that he was ready to pull the trigger and he was waiting for the mayor to get back to him. He had made several calls to the mayor. At least that's what he said in several press conferences. And so if that's so, then I don't know why the mayor didn't act sooner. And understand that while the mayor runs the city, the commissioner, Mr. Batts, runs that police department. So where was Mr. Batts? He certainly shares some culpability in this because, I didn't see all the coverage, but I certainly don't know where he was. And why wasn't he out there with his officers and talking to the community and talking to the police officers so that there was a sense of confidence that someone is at the helm and is running this ship?
I got about a minute left, so 30 seconds to the both of you. First of all, Sergeant Dorsey, do you think that cops right now, not only in Baltimore but other places around the country, are fearful to do their job right now because they're afraid that they may get brought up on charges if they're doing what they were trained to do?
Not my personal opinion. Police officers are well trained, at least those that I know and worked with, and I think by and large, police officers are going to continue to do the right thing. They're going to continue to be ethical, morally upright, professional, and they will do their duties to the best of their abilities as they have in the past.
Rochelle, I would guess that you would echo that and at least hope that that is the case, because there are a lot of tweets, social media, and even cops I've talked to who say, quite frankly, they're a little afraid to do their job these days.
Yeah, I agree with my sister from L.A. 100% wholeheartedly. All police are trained to do their jobs, and I think they're conscious enough and capable of doing their job, and they're not going to stop.
I think that what we've come to here is at least the conclusion that, yes, whomever was in charge, they made the mistake. Let the cops do their job and let them protect the citizens, because we're lucky at this point that no one's been killed in all of this. Let's hope it stays that way. Calmer heads will prevail. Ladies, it's been a pleasure. Sergeant Cheryl Dorsey, always a pleasure. Rochelle Bilal, thank you so much for joining us. I know we're going to speak again.
Thank you,
Ed.
All right, ladies, take care.